So today we have to do a couple of fixes, and one of them fixes is a little accident that I had, and it's this lollipop here. So a lump of silage stuck in the hole at the minute. If we can get it out, it'll be great. Everything is just frozen solid. So if I look cold, I am cold. It's freezing. It's -1 at the moment. The frost is giving us a little bit of hassle at the minute. We have no water in our cattle sheds, but I've hooked up temporary water at the moment. Our mains is fine. There's nothing to do with the mains. Just a little place underneath the concrete down that yard that's leaving things freezing, but we'll have a look at that in a minute. A couple of days ago, I was in a bit of a rush. My phone rung, took my eyes what I was doing. I reversed a little bit too far back into the trailer there on the corner, hit the handle on this lollipop here, which in turn broke this off completely, and there's the nice big gigantic hole. Yeah, not my finest hour. I even actually bent the rod going into it. So what I have to do now is unbolt this here, take this top part off. I think Evan Riley in Castlevania is going to have the part for me. Just remove this top half here without having to replace the whole lollipop. So I'm going to take that piece off. I can't use my power washer to wash the thing down. I'd love to wash it down first, because I have it completely dismantled and stripped down so the frost doesn't do it any harm. So I'm not going to put it back together just to do this wee job, because it's given another 3 or 4 nights of hard frost. So I'm going to leave it as it is. We're not going to touch it. We're just going to get it done the old fashioned way. So we'll get a wire brush, clean around as best I can, and take this off. Before we do that, we're going to have a quick look at what's going on down here. Frost does cause a bit of hassle around here, and I'll tell you why exactly it causes it. On this section here, this shed was built back in 2010, in around there, and this whole yard was put in. The mains water coming to this shed ran up along tight along the wall, and it's down good and deep until you get to here. We had to put a T-joiner on here to bring new water to this shed, but I wasn't here. I actually was in college that time doing a course, and I let the boys work away and get the concrete in there. It all finished when I got back. Told them to dig it down as deep as possible till it gets to there. I know that it's not deep enough here. Somewhere along between there and there, it's just not deep enough. I have a garden hose hooked up here now at the minute, coming from the dairy. Every drinker that I have, I've got a tap at the top of it, here and there and everywhere throughout the whole shed, so I can run a hose like this, just hook it in, turn the tap on, and the water will run through and get water to all the drinkers, supply all the drinkers just with one hose. And that works a treat, because in here it's not frozen. When the water runs out here, so the water mains comes down along here and comes out here, and there's a T-joiner there. The reason I know it's frozen from there to there is when I hook the tap up there, it's pumping water across through that T-joiner over that shed. So that shed's getting it, and this shed's getting it. That means it's not frozen underneath the yard. Then there's another joint here, which is bringing water into the dairy, and that's running. So I know it's running to there, I know it's running across the yard. So it's just from here to here, it's frozen. And I'd say more than likely it's out here, just along this track. And I'd say there's water seeping down maybe through that track and possibly getting in at it. So that's a dose. That is a dose. That's going to have to be dug up and fixed. It causes us a headache every year. The only way around it, you have to keep a tap slightly running somewhere when you know there's a real bad frost, just to keep it from freezing up, because the cows aren't drinking quick enough. Cows don't actually drink an awful lot of water this time of year, because the water was off all day yesterday, and I hooked the tap up yet last night late, and none of them seem to be wanting to drink. So that's that. It's just a little inconvenience more than anything. But the great thing about these screws is they're stainless. It makes such a difference. So I get the impression this would be stuck, which is not, which is brilliant. The lollipop is though. So that's the part we need to get replaced. Get that there. Notice this, see the top of the lollipop? It's stuck now because it's frozen. I'm going to get the blowtorch in here now and loosen it up. But you can see the top of that's broken as well. So we're going to have to put a new lollipop in it. I'm not really worried about doing that because it's well worn. There we go. Now that's nearly too easy. That's well worn. I noticed the way around the edges it looks well worn. No harm to replace that as well. You can see, tooth's broke off. That just sits in there like that. And probably would open and close, but it probably would break the rest of the tooth eventually. So there are all my pieces there that have to go away and have to be replaced. The rest of it seems to be good. One thing I am going to do is I'm going to lift all these nuts, because my Bailey would love to get them. I'm going to lift everything because she is a good hooker. She would lift everything you put down. Just a wee bit of grease, works wonders. So, in case a few of you asked why I didn't get a new piece. Well, I rung Jared up at Lakeland Machinery. Wasn't sure if he had the part. He was extremely busy when I rang him. And he said, but come up, we'll get you sorted. We'll get something sorted for you. So, I took the whole piece up with me. See, had everything bar the piece that I needed. He just said there was a surge on people looking for new lollipops for the back of their tankers. He's expecting a delivery this evening, and he said, are you really stuck? And I said, well, I have a dairy tank that I need to kind of get empty. Just I'll have to go and borrow a tank. No, he said, just wait. If you can wait a few minutes, just let me see, can I get you sorted out with something? So he went out and he took it off a tank. He took this one here off another tank. If that lets you out, that's 100%. If you're happy to take that. And I said, Jesus, yeah, because you can see. So that was very good of him, because he was extremely busy, but he still took the time to go out, take that part off, have it from me. So that's why I like doing business with companies like that, and that's why I've done so much business with Lakeland Machinery. They're just so good to you, and they look after you extremely well. And anybody that knows them around Castleblaney there in Monaghan or even in Cavan know how good they are to the customer. So win-win, job fixed, on to the next one. All I have to do now is keep from reversing into trailers. Number 2 is in the calving pen. I'm not going over. I'm going to stay away from her because I wanted to calve before milking time, and it's just after 4 o'clock now. So she is starting to push nicely. There's another girl in there. It'll be taking her place as soon as she goes out, and that'll be a third one calved tonight. So that's number 2. Oh, she's getting up anyway. And she's well on. First water bag gone. That's what we like to see. We're on the Massey now. We have to address a little problem that's just after kind of starting. Well, it started a couple of days ago. I got off the tractor here back a couple of days ago, and I could hear a noise, a kind of a hissing noise coming when I turned off the ignition and all. And that hissing noise coming from these 2 speakers. Now the radio was off. I even took the faceplate off, and I was still getting a little bit of interference. Disconnect the battery the last couple of nights because I just didn't like to hear that noise, and that got rid of the noise. So once you hear a hissing in your speakers, there's definitely a short somewhere. Something is putting power to them speakers, and you need to find out where it is, because believe it or not, badly wired radios is one of the major causes of fires on any vehicle. So I didn't put this radio in, and I don't know what way it is fitted, but I've seen some radios before that have been fitted on tractors and machinery that I've bought. They've been just a mess. I think this radio could be banjaxed, and it's quite a good one, and it's Bluetooth and all built into it. But this little hole here, this is for a light. It wasn't in this tractor when I bought it, but there's a little connection just there that you hook it into. Now, see that connection's wet? Now, I'm not sure if that's condensation or what it is, but I do notice a lot of dripping of water starting to come around this radio around the same time when this cracking started. So either we have a pipe leaking up here. This is not wet, so I'm going to have to open it up and try to see what's going on up here. Now, you see that water? That is not good. That's certainly not good on a radio. So it just pushes in a little plug that's on the side of it. There we go. There's corrosion. I have a feeling that radio is screwed. Oh, it is sobbing wet. There's a lot of condensation in there, and I'm thinking it's still just from frost. I'm hoping that's what it is. Yeah, it's just from frost. You can see up there, do you see that roof? That roof there is dripping with water. That's not a good thing. I don't really like to see that. First, get a look and see what they're like. Oh yeah, here we go. Here's the party here. So we have a jumble of wires. Not the worst I've ever seen, but you see they're just absolutely soaking in water. They're all corroded as well. That possibly is just all down to condensation. I have a feeling that's what it is, because I can see the whole area in there is all wet. All the surfaces is wet. What we're going to do is we're going to put some heat in there, run a dryer in there for a while, dry that all out, And I'll come back in a day or two and I'll check that to see is there any water or any sign of water coming in. I'm going to check that aerial too, and I'd say this radio needs to be replaced too, but we may be able to save it. We'll have a quick look inside it and see what kind of shape it's in, dry it out. To me it looks like it's a goner. Soaking. We'll tidy up these wires, fix up a few of these joints, put in some contact grease, maybe add a bit of hot glue around these just to stop any water from getting into them in the first place. Not a huge amount of corrosion in them joints, not too bad. I think what's wrong is so much water in them. They were just literally crossing each other. I removed the inline fuse because it was badly corroded inside. So we're going to fit a new one on this. But another thing I noticed was there's a lot of joints. Like there's a joint there. There's a joint going to another joint, going to another joint. There's no need for it. Just need the one. So what we're going to do there is we're going to remove this here now. I'm going to put a new inline fuse. I'm going to use a couple of different types of connections here. These have shrink wrap already on them. They're much better, they're much cleaner, and they're much safer. You don't need insulating tape or anything like that. On there. Just crimp it closed. We'll stick this one in here. I've still a feeling that this radio is not going to work, and if there's any cracking whatsoever on them speakers, it's coming out, and that's it. It will get a new radio put into its place. Miswiring. Check wiring. I have a feeling there's nothing wrong with the wiring at all in this radio. What's wrong is the radio itself has got wet. I'm not going to put a huge amount of time into this. There's no point in me soldering all these joints and then finding out that the radio is at fault. I don't see anything in there that really would throw a circle of something being wrong. So here's the story with this. I'm wasting too much time fiddling at it, not getting anywhere. It just keeps on reading that it's miswired, so it's done. But I want to just open it up and see, just for a matter of interest, what is actually gone wrong inside it. Just I don't really care. Okay, that's that off. I don't see anything madly corroded. It should come out here. Here it comes. Okay. I don't see much wrong with that. Oh, I see the problem. See that? There's a lot of corrosion right there. I think we can clean that. With this thing kind of apart now, see can I have a quick look underneath this motherboard. See this? That's heavily corroded. That's heavily corroded. And that. Everything else looks to be very clean. I think if we clean them there, we could be back in business. Before you say I have a Dremel out and I'm going to give it a hard going over, I'm not. This is only a polishing, soft polishing fella that's on, so we're just going to give it a quick rub and see what it cleans up like. Okay, that's a lot cleaner. We'll just blow off the dust of it, put it back in, and we'll give it a try. It's worth a try. Doesn't work, not the end of the world. You never know. I think it's looking good. You see this corrosion here? That's quite a bad bit of corrosion. But this is not so bad. Don't worry too much about that. It's not doing anything. But here is. This is needed for earth. So that's a bad connection right there. So we clean that up. Alright, so that's all clicked back in together. Let's just plug it in and see what it does. This will be interesting. You can hear the radio working. I'm not going to put on the radio station just for copyright reasons, but it's definitely working. That's a good result. All it was a wee bit of corrosion. Saved myself a few €100. I'm going to fix up these wires now. I'm not going to do it tonight, but tomorrow I'm going to take all these wires apart and solder them all into place. Just fix that all up, make it a lot tidier looking. I'm happy with that. That's a good success. So we're back over here on the other farm. It's time for me and this beast here to do battle one last time. I'll slice it all up now, hopefully in the next couple of hours, and hopefully our new log splitter will be ready from Carl's engineering, and it'll be here in a couple of days and be ready to do a load of chopping. So we'll get this all cut up. We've 3 at home to get cut up as well. Hopefully then in a couple of weeks you might see the new machine working, get it all chopped up, get this all cleared up. Now the ground's nice and frozen over. Another thing we're going to be doing is we actually went ahead and got another tipsy bin. Yes, another one. The reason for that is I seen on their Facebook page a guy filled his with turf, and I thought it was an excellent idea. Now around here turf isn't really used. There's no turf bogs around here. It's normally either coal or sticks. I'm going to keep a tipsy bin at home just purely for sticks, because it'll hold a lot more than the coal bunker we're actually using at the moment. My wife can't reach into the coal bunker, which is another problem. She can only reach in halfway down into the coal bunker. I can get down just about, get my tips of my fingers down at the very bottom of it. But the tipsy bin is going to solve that. We're going to be able to bring it over here on the front loader. We're going to be able to just drop it there, fill it with sticks, bring it back home, just drop it at the back door of the house. No filling into a trailer and then fill into a shed. Just straight into the tipsy bin and straight into the stove. So we have a couple of leaves taken off it. You can see where the firewood has burnt a hole into it. Problem is that my blade doesn't reach the whole way in the bar. It doesn't just meet in the middle. So I'm probably going to have to do is chop the whole way down it, then bring the tractor up and roll it over and get at it from the other side. That's the only way I'll probably get in at it. It does narrow as it goes down. I have to go home now because I actually hit a stone and I'm sitting in the centre of this here and I've lost my edge. So let's go home now and just run the file on that there and come back and ding dust into it. But as you can see, it's a brave base that's on it. Lots of good firewood. It's a good burner. Burns very, very fast. It puts out a good heat. So if I'll not get it finished today, I'll just run out of daylight. Quickest way to sharpen your saw. Don't mind the saw being at an angle like this. Because I have a jaw that's broken on this vise. Still holds it perfectly, and don't tighten it too tight. First thing to do, get a bit of plumber's tape. So all I do then is I wrap the plumber's tape around one of the blades, and all that is a guide to where I started sharpening, so you don't lose track of where you are. So this is the guy I sharpen with. Make sure you pick a file that's suitable to your blade. And this is a great bit of kit to have. I have this well over 10 years now and I've always used it to sharpen my blades. I can do it without it. I'm used to it now, the angles. But if you're new to sharpening your blade, this is a great little tool to have. So if you line that up, your blade, if you look closely there, you see a line. Well, that's line you need to keep parallel with the bar of the chainsaw. And you just rub it straight, 3 rubs away from you. Don't be tempted to run more than that. You shouldn't need more than 3 runs. Another great little tool is one of these. This is actually a wee machine for sharpening your blade. I'd only use that if I hit a big nail or something or damaged the blade badly. I might run that in it, but I think the file is just hard to beat. Another little tool you can get is one of these. It's a little guide, that there, and then this bar here fits into that. And everything's kind of lined up so you can't really go wrong. It's a little bit of extra kit you can get. These are made by Still. You probably can get third-party ones, but they're relatively inexpensive. This here, then, you just open them 2 screws and your file just slip out and you can slip in different sizes to suit. And I do recommend you get yourself one of these if you can. If you have a chainsaw, it'll save you a world of time running back and forth getting your chainsaw sharpened. It only takes about 5 minutes just to put an edge in your blade. Another thing we're going to do is tighten this chain. It's not too bad, but it's just a little bit too much play on the bottom of that. When you get one of these tools with your chainsaw, don't throw it away. It is very, very handy to have. This one here is actually for my strimmer, so it has a different head on the end of it. Chainsaw would have a flat head. You can put it in there and tighten your chain. Okay. Right. That's just nice there now. It's not too tight. We'll check it again when it's running a while, but that should be fine. Fuel at the minute, but we're slicing into it nicely. We're actually, as to say, we're running rings around it, but it's a stubborn old thing to cut. It might look easy in the camera, but trust me, it's anything but. You might also wonder why I'm using a sledgehammer to break it up. Well, there's quite a simple answer to that. I broke my axe. Every 2 years I have to put a new handle on it. It's not that they're cracking, they're just shearing straight off. Should I buy a wooden handle again, or should I buy a fiberglass handle? Which works better? Where can you get good handles that will last? Because I remember years ago you hadn't that issue. A handle would split if you hit it too hard against something or caught it on something. But these ones aren't splitting. They're just breaking clean off. It's nearly like dry rot that's inside it. Just not the same kind of stuff. It's quite hard stuff, so when I hit it a wrap there with the sledgehammer, it's breaking up. So I have 5 boxes home already, and I'll finish this now in the next couple of hours. I keep slicing it the whole way over, and then I'm going to roll it over with the loader, and then I'm going to cut them slices through on the bottom, and hopefully it'll all fall apart when we get the thing home. I have had people come over and try to cut it up, and they thought they could do wonders. After a couple of hours they said, no, we think we leave it. But that stuff is so dry that it can go straight into the stove, and it's not covering the glass and all smoke and things. It's burning nice and clean straight away. It's not really looking forward to get my own splitter, because I do enjoy splitting 6, but when you have a sore back, it's one thing that will irritate it. I don't suffer my back really that much now at all. I look after it. You might feel great that whole day doing it, but that night it's a whole different ball game.
Okay.
Oh Christ, am I happy. That is the very last of it gone. No more tree. First time in a long time. This whole place is now clear for the man to just up and down with the mower. That tree is a long time sitting there, and I was sick of looking at it. It's hard as iron in places trying to cut it. I had to sharpen the saw every 4 or 5 slices because it was just heating up everything, and it was just a nightmare, but it's gone. Last load, going home, piles and piles of sawdust. But great to get it cleared up. Tonight is given -6, so I'll do is I'll come over here in the morning, I'll rake up all the sawdust, clean it all off, and just run the power box over everything, and then the frost will break it up and throw a bit of seed on it then in the springtime, and that's it. Gone, finished. Wet area, there's a shore busted up here somewhere, and you can see just down towards this drinker, just this area here, there's a huge pile up of water. So when we uprooted the tree, we must have somehow or other clipped a shore, an old stone shore that we're going to have to fix. Here we're going to have to find one of the stone shores that's crossing the field somewhere around here, and take a shore from here and run it into that. So that should be easy enough done. But it's a lovely winter's evening. I'm glad to be done. It's been a long week. Apologise, didn't get any videos up this last 2 Wednesdays. I was just flat out. I'm just incredibly busy getting ready for calving. Cows calving now. We're 6 calved. We have possibly 3 going to calve the night. Last night I got very little sleep because one cow I just had to watch. She had a little bit of trouble last year. I didn't want to leave her on her own. So I just kept an eye on her. She was 100%. She didn't calve till 7 o'clock in the morning. I still was glad I stayed up because I wouldn't like to wake up the next morning and find that she was in trouble. Hopefully I'll get sitting down at some stage this evening. I'm literally knackered. Next week's going to be an interesting week. We've loads of stuff coming. We have things coming that's going to help with us feeding our cattle over here along the barrier. That new tyres is going on the case. Hopefully next week. It's a lockdown at the minute. This tyre here bust over Christmas time. You can see that tyre's completely gone and it's in really bad nick. If we weren't putting new tyres on it, we'd have to go and put a new tyre on that straight away because it is dangerous. We just have to take it easy with it. It could burst any time, even with the weight of this on it. We're just hoping it won't. Guys are going to come, going to keep our distance from them. They're going to do the fitting and all. We will record it from a distance, but everything will be done safely and nobody will be near anyone else. And because this COVID is rampant at the moment, so we just have to take every single precaution that we can. I'm looking so forward to seeing tyres on it. Wider tyre on the back, a wider tyre on the front. I'm not going to tell you any more about it. Just keep an eye out. I'll update on Instagram every so often and hopefully we'll soon have a video on that finished. Another thing this tractor's going to need in the summertime is a clutch. I said that before. It's going to need a clutch. There's no doubt about it. I know by the sounds it's making that the clutch is starting to go. It wasn't in great shape when I bought the tractor, so I've got 5 years out of a clutch that has been starting to wear just because I wasn't abusing it. But now when the loader's on, it's putting a little bit of extra pressure on that clutch. It's going to be fine for this winter. I cannot see it going. It's not getting any worse. I just be careful the way I'm driving it that I'm not putting any extra pressure on it, but don't mind. I do not mind spending money on that tractor. It's well worth it, and anything else it needs it will get. I think this tractor will probably stay on the farm indefinitely. It'll end its life on our farm because I absolutely love it. I hate the gearbox, but I love the tractor. The gearbox and then, oh, nightmare on the far side. But I love the tractor and that's what's important. It's reliable. I like how short it is, how handy it is around the sheds. And especially now with the loader on it. The loader has just turned into the tractor that it should have always been. Now after seeing that, it'll probably break tomorrow morning. Anyway folks, thanks very much for watching as always. If you haven't subbed, hit that sub button. Follow us on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. It's all there, the same old usual stuff. Until the next one, we'll talk to you soon.